Is this able to be lowered a little bit? Good morning, dear devotees. It's nice to have the opportunity to give class. It's been a while. I had been away, and then I wasn't well, and so somehow or other, by the mercy of Radha Golokananda and Srila Prabhupada, I'm having the opportunity to be able to purify myself and hopefully to share with others my enthusiasm for the Srimad Bhagavatam. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardit Adi Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardit Adi Yasoda Nandana Prashajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Prashajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai. Jaya Vishnu Padmanamahamsa Bhavagacharya Sutara Satashi Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Vishnu Padmanamahamsa Bhavagacharya Sutara Satashi Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Nam Acharya Sridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund, Radha Kund Iti Govardhan Ki Jai, Iti Govardhan Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ganga Mai Ki, Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. So today we are continuing with our study of the glorious Srimad Bhagavatam. We should never think, oh, this is just, I've read this in Krishna book before, or this is not such an exciting part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But every single word in the Bhagavatam is full of ras. And we are meant to deliberate. So actually going verse by verse like this and going through the commentaries makes us deliberate. Prabhupada wanted us to meditate on the verses and come to different reflections and to share them. So text, chapter 10, Canto 10, chapter 51, text number 14. Shri Sukha Uvacha, Shri Shuka Uvacha, Shri Shuka Uvacha, Sa Ikshvaku Kule Jato, Sa Ikshvaku Kule Jato, Sa Ikshvaku Kule Jato, Mandatra Tanayo Mahan, Mandatra Tanayo Mahan, Mandata Tanayo Mahan, Muchukunda, 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 Iti Kayato, Muchukunda Titi Kayato, Muchukunda Titi Kayato, Ramanaya, Ramanaya, Satya, Satya, Sangaha, and I realized I didn't say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now there will be auspiciousness. Shri Sukuvacha, Sa Ishvaku Kule Jato, Manjatir Tanayoman, Muchukunda Tikyato, Ramanaya Sacha Sangraha, Shri Sukuvacha, Sa Ishvaku Kule Jato, Mandata Tanayoman, Muchukunda Tikyato, Ramanaya Sacha Sangraha. Devotees. Shri Sukuvacha, Sa Ishvaku Kule Jato, Manda Tri Tanayoman, Muchakunda iti kyato Ramanaya Satya Sangraha Shri Sukuvacha Sa Ishvaku Kule Jato Mandata Tanayo Mahan Mukunda iti kayato Brahmanaya Satya Sangraha Shri Sukovacha Sa Ishvaku Kule Jato Manja Chetanayo Man Muchakunda iti kyato Brahmanaya Satya Sangraha. Anyone else? Shri Sukovacha Sa Ishvaku Kule Jato Manda Tir Chanayo Man Kunda iti jato Amana Sangaya. Anyone else? Word for word. Shri Sukovacha Sukadev Goswami said, Saha he Ishvaku Kule in the dynasty of Ikshvaku, grandson of Vivishwan, the sun god. Jataha Mandatra Tanayaha, the son of King Mandata. Mahan, the great personality. Muchakunda iti kayataha, known as Muchakunda. Brahmanayaha, devoted to the Brahmanas. Satya, true to his vow. Sangaraha, in battle. Shri Sukubacha, Sa Ishvaku Kule Jato, Mandri Tanayo Mahan, Muchakunda iti kyato, Brahmanaya Sacha Sangraha. Sukadev Goswami said, Muchakunda was the name of this great personality who was born in the Ikshvaku dynasty, excuse me, as the son of Mandata. He was devoted to Brahminical culture and always true to his vow in battle. You could repeat. Sukadev Goswami said, Mukunda was the name of this great personality who was born in the Ikshvaku dynasty as the son of Mandata. He was devoted to Brahminical culture and always true to his vow in battle. So there is no purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but there is a few commentaries here. Jiva Goswami says he was a great devotee, Mahan. Sanatana Goswami says the son of Yuvanasya was Mandata, a 19th generation after Ikshvaku. Mandata's son was the best among people, Mahan, because of being a devotee of the Lord. Purukutasam Ambarisham Mukundam Cha Yoginam. These sons were Purukusta, Ambarisha, and Mukunda, a great devotee, 9:638. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Shrimati Hridaya Nanda Goswami Iti Namane Namaste Guru Handasaya Pandita Septu Siddhantanasane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachadine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashtadine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada, unto my Shiksha Guru, and unto all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here. So this is actually, so there is so much instruction in this particular pastime that we're reading from. And we might go on to number 15, but I want to first cover the important points here, and time is always limited. So here we find ourselves being transferred. Chaitanya Charan spoke some about it yesterday. We know that Krishna spent quite a bit of time in the 10th canto in Vrindavan, in his most beautiful form of, Brajanandana playing the flute, frolicking in the caves of Govardhan, being caught by Mother Yasoda by her love, and displaying these wonderful pastimes of reciprocation with devotees according to their particular rasa in devotional service. So how beautiful are the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. And we know that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Yet somehow or other here we are in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and now we've been moved far from Sri Vrindavan Dham. Krishna was taken, as we know, by Akrura, and he was taken to Mathura, where he would have his pastime as Mathura Dwesh. He was taken there in order to give protection to the Yadus who were being harassed by the wicked Kamsa. And so he goes to Mathura. Kamsa is slayed, and he's just like leaving the Vrindavan pastimes, leaving behind his flute and going in his Vasudev form. And he enters into Mathura. Then when Kamsa's killed, the wives of Kamsa go to their father, very much lamenting. Father was Jarasandha. And as we read previously, Jarasandha comes 17 times and he's fighting with Krishna. He just doesn't give up. He tries to give up, and then his cronies tell him, no, just keep going. It was just bad luck. So this is going on. Then one day, Krishna sees that now Mathura is going to be sieged by the south side, by this Yavana, Kalavayana. And so he's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so in Krishna's pastimes, in Vrindavan, Krishna had the cowherd boys close their eyes, and then he swallowed a fire. He uses his Aishwara power, he swallowed a fire. So now here in Mathura, everyone goes to take rest, and then they wake up and they're in the city of Dwarka, in the middle of a moat around it to be protected. So he places his residence in Dwarka. So now, just like we read in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Mother Sachi wanted Nimai that he should be in Jagannath Puri, because the two cities, Jagannath Puri and Navadvip Dham, they're like two rooms in the same house. But here we see first Krishna's in Mathura, which is actually very close to Vrindavan, although the residents didn't go there, but there was always news coming back and forth. But now everything is moved to Dwarka. And so that is taking us actually externally to appear farther away from Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, there are those loving, intimate pastimes with Radha and Krishna. So now here's Krishna. He creates this fort. He leaves his family safely there, and then he goes out to fight Kalyana. But he doesn't go with his whole army. He goes the way Krishna goes. He has his way of sauntering along. So here he's in his four-armed form, because that is the form that Narada Muni meditates on him. And that is the form that Kalyana was told about. So Kalyana cannot really see Krishna because his eyes are covered. Instead of with the salve of love, like we pray in the Ishopanishad, with the salve of love, open my eyes, he has cataracts. But his cataracts come from lust, anger, greed. And then we'd say, well, is it really his fault? Because it's his swabhav, it's his nature. And why is it his nature? Because the whole purpose of his appearance was to cause havoc for the Yadus. As we read previously, the Garga or Gargamuni weren't sure who it was, but there was this curse. And the curse was basically because they felt insulted, that there was laughed at, made fun of. And so this Kalyana, he appeared just to cause havoc. That was his purpose in coming, was to cause havoc to the Yadus. So the best way to cause havoc to the Yadus is to cut off the source of the Yadus, which is Krishna. So he's so proud, he's so dull and full of ignorance that he's thinking he's going to fight the Lord. That he's equal to the Lord. So Krishna, instead of coming with an army and even taking the trouble to bring his army out, he comes sauntering in with his 4 arms. And it's described to Parikshit Maharaj how beautiful the Lord is. But that's the description how the devotee sees the Lord. Kalyana just had a brief glimpse. Well, it's got to be Vasudeva because he's got a lotus, this and that. But he couldn't really, if he had seen the actual beauty of the Lord, he would have been purified. So here, this brings us to where we are now. So, of course, this question is going to be asked, just like I was thinking this also. I remember I would read Krishna book, and like all of a sudden, here we are, we're in Mathura, Krishna's fighting Jarasandha. The next thing you know, he's walking into a cave, and there's some personality running after him, throwing insults. So the first question is going to be, who is this personality? And how did this personality, Muchakunda, who seems to have caused Kalyana to burn to ashes, what is he doing in this cave? How is he here? And how is he in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Who is he, And how does Krishna know that he's there? Why does Krishna go walking into this cave? So here again we see how Krishna does many things at one time. So it's explained that Mukunja was born in the Ishvaku dynasty as the son of Mandata. So we all have heard of Ishvaku because it's explained in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the importance of hearing transcendental knowledge through the parampara, coming directly from Krishna. So Krishna says, I first spoke this to Vivishwan, and Vivishwan spoke it to Manu, and Manu spoke it to Ishvaku. Now I am speaking it to you, Arjuna. So this is that same knowledge. And this Mandata, he is coming from that same lineage, which is a glorious lineage. It's a lineage dedicated to the service of God. It's a lineage that's dedicated to the welfare of the living entities. So that's the first point, that he's coming from this great lineage. And we also notice that this Mandata, he had 3 sons, and one of them we're familiar with is Ambarish. Ambarish Maharaj is a very important personality. And so Muchakunda, being the son of this Mandata, he's the son of a great personality. He himself is said to have been very dedicated to serving the Brahmanas. He was so dedicated to serving the Brahmanas, although he himself was a very pious king, that Indra beckoned him to come and to help the celestials fight against the demons. So he gave up his kingdom, he gave up his family, he gave everything up to engage in service. And then he kept getting called again and again and again. So this went on for a very long time. And it was explained in the summary in previous verses that it came to the point that he was like, enough's enough. Enough is enough. I need to rest. But it wasn't that he just wanted to rest. It was that he also knew that Krishna was going to appear. But it was going to be a long time till Krishna appeared, because this is taking place in a long time history. So it was going to be a long time. Well, I might as well sleep during that time. And then when it's time, I'll be able to see Krishna. So he was given this benediction that whoever woke him untimely would be burned to ashes. Because you would think, well, why did he ask for such a gruesome benediction? Because actually, he was concerned that Indra again would go and call him. Because he knows Indra's always getting in trouble. He thinks this is the last time. And then again, something will happen, and Indra will wake him up. So he set this so that Indra would not call him, then he would rest. So Krishna, being within the heart of every living entity, and always wanting to reciprocate with his devotees, he knew that this Muchukunda was resting within the cave, and he knew that this Muchukunda had a desire to see him, had a desire to associate with him. So in order to accomplish two things, in order to be rid of Kalyana, to protect the residents, and in order to give special mercy to Muchukunda, he came up with this plan of going into the cave. Now, one might think, why was Kalyana never able to catch Krishna? He could never even really see Krishna because he was covered by his lust, by his anger, by his envy. And this is spoken about in the Bhagavad Gita, how this lust covers one's intelligence. Chaitanya Charana has been talking a lot on his evening programs about how one has to learn to discriminate and to use intelligence. And so when our desires become so strong, our own intelligence comes covered over, and we'll keep doing the same thing over and over again, causing ourselves so much difficulty, causing difficulty to others. So Krishna was not going to allow himself to be touched by this Yavana. He was in the form of Vishnu, but still, he was going to have someone else do the job for him. That was spoken about the other day in class. He just, get someone else. So Muchukunda was going to be the henchman, so to speak. Krishna wasn't even going to do it himself. So as we read, Krishna ran into this cave. Kalyana was so much full of ignorance that he ran in after him, and he mistook the lying person there to be Krishna, although it didn't have 4 arms. I mean, the whole thing was just ridiculous. But, it's just ridiculous. But he's so enraged, and cursing and screaming, and he goes in there. And then Muchukunda, who's been sleeping a long time, is like, what? And then he has the nerve to kick him. So he kicks a great devotee of the Lord, actually, which is an aspect that wasn't brought up that I thought about it. That actually Kalyana also commits an offense because Muchukunda is explained to be a great devotee of the Lord, and he kicks him. And so then Muchukunda wakes up like, what's this all about? And glances at him, and he immediately just turns to ashes because that was part of Muchukunda's benediction. So would we say that Muchukunda killed him? Or do we understand, which is applicable in our own life, events appear to be a certain way externally, but we're bringing them on to ourselves. So it was Kalyana's own anger, his own frustration, his own blindness of ignorance that brought this on to him. And then we see how Muchukunda opens his eyes and he sees that beautiful form of the Lord, which is the fulfillment of his heart's desire. So here we see the Lord accomplish two things. He appears to be, as is spoken other times in the Bhagavatam, does he favor the demigods and, inimical to the demons? No. Whatever the Lord does ultimately is for the benefit. So it was for the benefit of Kavalyana to actually have his body incinerated. That was for his benefit. And ultimately, along with the other demons, he would receive a particular type of liberation. So I wanted to go back now to Srimad Bhagavatam 9.638 and read a little bit about the family that Muchukunda came from. It will help us to really understand the greatness of his personality. So just 1 second while I go to another page. Okay. So it's been a while since we read the 9th canto, so I'm going to go over this. After describing the descendants of Maharaj Ambarish, Sukadev Goswami described all the kings from Shataka to Mandata, and in the connection he also described how the great sage Sarabi married the daughters of Mandata. Maharaj Ambarish had 3 sons, Virupa, Kaman, and Shambhu. The son of Virupa was Prasadeva, and the son of Rahita had no sons, but when he was requested the favor of the great sage Angira, the sage begot several sons in the womb of Randira's wife. When they were born, they became the dynasty of Angira Rishi and Rani Harti. Okay, just make this a little bit bigger. The son of Manu was Ikshvaku, who had 100 sons, of whom Vishnu, Nimi, and Danta were the eldest. The son of Maharaj Ishvaku became kings of different parts of the world. Because of violating sacrificial rules and regulations, one of these sons, Vikusi, was banished from the kingdom. But the mercy of Vashishta and the power of mystic yoga, Maharaj Ishvaku attained liberation after giving up the material body. Okay, I'm going to go ahead a little bit. So this is giving some history of the lineage, which we don't have time to go through the whole thing, but we're going to come to the father of Muchukunda. Okay. Yuvanashva married 100 wives, but he had no sons, and therefore he entered the forest. In the forest, the sage performed a sacrifice known as Indra-yagna on his behalf. Once, however, the king became so thirsty in the forest that he drank the water kept for performing yagna. Consequently, after some time, a son came forth from the right side of the abdomen. The son, who was very beautiful, was crying to drink breast milk, and Indra gave the child his index finger to suck. The son became known as Mandata. In due course of time, Yuvanasra achieved perfection by performing austerities. So in the Bhagavatam, people have unusual births. These are unusual times. Thereafter, this is Mandata, who is the father of Muchukunda. Mandata became the emperor and ruled the earth, which consists of 7 islands. Thieves and rogues were very much afraid of the powerful king, and therefore the king was known as Trasadum, meaning one who was fearful to rogues and thieves. Mandata begot sons in the womb of his wife, Bindumati. The sons were Purukushta, Ambarish, and Mukunda. These 3 sons had 50 sisters, all of whom became wives of the great sage Sarabi. So Ambarish and Muchukunda were actually brothers. And here we see that this brings us also that history of Sarabi Muni, who had committed an offense to Garuda, later became agitated when he saw 2 fish together, and then he desired to get married, and he actually goes to King Mandata and requests to marry his daughters. He's coming out of the water and he's completely shriveled up, and King Mandata says, well, whoever wants to marry you. But then by his own mystic power, he created himself to become so beautiful that all the 50 daughters were fighting over him. They'd all once gotten along, but then they were all fighting over him. So we know eventually he comes to his realizations and goes on with his spiritual life. But in the meanwhile, he created this, like, by his mystic power, he created this incredible celestial palace for each of his wives to live in. And he was living in great opulence. So when King Mandata came and he saw all of this, he was so amazed that he decided to give up everything, and he himself renounced his kingdom. So Al-Muchakunda, who we're reading about, was his son. So Muchakunda is coming from this very, very great lineage of great devotees. And it's explained that he was very dedicated to the Brahmanas, so much so that he fought for Indra for many, many years. And because he had a desire to reciprocate with the Lord within his heart, although the Lord was going to appear many yugas later, he decided to rest until that time came. But so what do we learn from this? We don't learn that we're supposed to rest until the Lord comes. That's not what we're meant to learn from this. But we're meant to learn that we can have a vision in our devotional life of a spiritual desire of interacting with the Supreme Lord. And it might take a very long time to achieve, but we should never give up on that. And we should know that Krishna was in the heart. He knows everything that's going on. And when the time is right, the Lord will appear to us. So when the Lord appears to Muchakunda, he sees that most beautiful form. He sees him in the four-armed form, because that is how he had heard about him. And he'd heard from Narada Muni. So he sees him in that form, and he very much wants to serve him. And the Lord asks him what he wants. But being a devotee of the Lord, he doesn't want anything. He doesn't want anything material. He could have had anything. But he only wants to see that beautiful form of the Lord and to be able to serve him. So he will find out that because part of his service involved killing many people and things as a warrior, he has some previous karmas to work off. So he's given that opportunity to go in this life to perform penance and to become purified. And his next life, he'll take birth in a very pious Brahmin family, and he will be able to achieve the Lord. So that's also another lesson for us, that we sometimes think, oh my God, I've been practicing Krishna consciousness, for 10 months, 10 years, 40 years, and where am I? I see these great souls that are just like, the Bhagavatam is coming from their lips like honey. They're completely absorbed in the most highest esoteric aspects of Krishna consciousness, and I'm still swimming here in the mud. But no, we have to have that faith to be like the lotus, that we can rise above the mud and be like the swan and be able to separate the milk. So that requires that patience, that faith, and that comes through good association. When we have good association of others that have a taste for Krishna consciousness, others that have a taste for the chanting of the holy name, for reading Srimad Bhagavatam, then we become so enthusiastic. So it's not that we should always be living our life for tomorrow. Like Chaitanya Sharman spoke about that we have to have that balance. It's not like we just live like our life just for today, eat, sleep, and be merry, or perform so many austerities in this life that our Krishna consciousness becomes a great austerity and miserable. But that there has to be that balance, that I'm patient for the future the same time, our devotional service should be joyfully performed. Ananda, it's joyful. Whatever we're doing, wherever we're at, that we do it joyfully. Whatever circumstance Krishna places us in, this is a good circumstance. This is exactly where I need to be, And that Krishna shouldn't stay far away from me. We should be running after Krishna, but not that Krishna leads us into a cave, where there's someone that will glance at us, not with a loving glance, but with a glance of fire. So again, I was comparing I always have to go back to Vrindavan. That's just how my brain works, as to go to Vrindavan. So I was comparing, here in Vrindavan, Krishna's playing in the caves of Govardhan with his friends, the cowherd boys, with the gopis. Krishna's playing in Braj. And that's life in Vrindavan, in the caves. And here we have a cave where Krishna's leading someone who's envious, and that person's own envy is burning them up. So we learn from that the importance of developing a loving relationship with the Lord, of reciprocation. And whatever little service we're given to do, performing it with love and devotion. And Krishna is very pleased when his devotees are pleased. So developing loving relationships with the devotees of the Lord. So I wanted to stop here. And does anyone have any reflections or comments? Hare Krishna, welcome. How do we identify? What will our role be there? That is revealed to us actually through the chanting of the holy name in this day and age. Sometimes people feel like I can go to India, I can go to Radhakund, I can find a sadhu, he can tell me who I am in the spiritual world. It's not a matter of a plane ticket, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the method, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So in the Shashastaka, we're taken step by step by step. So the chanting of the holy name and the following under the instruction of the disciplic succession, under the instruction of Guru, then our natural inclination to serve in this spiritual world is revealed. So because it's not something material, it's not something that we imagine, but it's something that is revealed to us. And if we find ourselves attracted to hearing particular aspects, we could also read those aspects and develop that. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Adipurusham Kamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Lasyan Pipan Pikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam
Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasa Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Dama Navidana Kaliya Navidana Kaliya Dama Navidana Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Amala Harina Mami Lasa Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Vipinan Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Suvasa Vipinan Purandara Vina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Asam Vipinam Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Subasa Garabara Vamsivadana Subasa Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Jajana Palana Surakula Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Jajana Surakula Nashana Nanda Godana Rakolaya Nanda Godana Rakowala Nanda Godana Rakowala Nanda Godana Kowala Govinda Madhava Navanira Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanira Govinda Madhava Navanira Taskara Navanira Taskara Sundara Nanda Gopala Sundara Gopala Sundara Nanda Gopala Sundara Gopala Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasa Kripa Moya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasa Rasika Kripa Maya Rasa Rasika Kripa Maya